All right, so we're in for a very exciting and fun call today with Miss Olivia. Olivia, you're with BeSuccessful.com, and of course, we have Riley here with Healthy Life Technology USA MedBed. And Olivia, we're really excited to have you on today with BeSuccessful.com or Sexcessful, which is kind of a play on words there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started and what Be Successful is. Sexcessful, excuse me.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much for having me. So, yeah, I come from a background of customer success, and it was just a natural transition as I started going deeper into my healing work and really taking a look at relationships and how I feel that the true pandemic was disconnection. So as I started my journey, I dove deep into my relationship patterns. Part of my big story was I struggled a lot with being vulnerable. And although I was seeking this love and this, deep love, I was afraid when it come down to it. And especially as well as the reason I went into exploring more of sexuality is I struggled to orgasm with my partners in the bedroom. So I know that's something that maybe people don't talk about, but on a nervous system level, I realized, I thought that love was the missing piece, but actually when emotions were involved, that's when my body started to shut down or go numb. So really it drove me to explore further of, what was happening in my body and where was a disconnect between my mind and my body.
That's awesome. I think that's actually much more common than what most people realize. And it's always nice because we do hit subjects that sometimes aren't like always in the mainstream, but they're affecting a large number of people. And I think that, one of the things that always comes out with these types of companies, businesses, is it's what we call sort of pain to purpose, right? And you're
Mhm.
kind of dealing with these issues and you're trying to find a way out. But once you've gone through and really gone inside and sort of broke it down, you find that number one, you're healing yourself and you're getting to that better place. But now you're really empowered to be able to talk about it because you've really taken the time to kind of learn about what it is. And you actually have some really good stuff here. We were talking before the call, but being able to tap into sexual energy and power is one of those. So let's get a
Yeah.
little deeper into the Be Successful and kind of what it is that you've done and how you've sort of, tapped into some of these techniques and knowledge that really help yourself and help others.
Totally, yeah. So really your sexual energy is your life force energy. And so when we're disconnected from that, we're disconnected from our creativity, from play, from pleasure. And it's such an integral part of us. And I started to notice that, you know, being with certain people in my romantic partnerships, I wasn't able to fully get turned on or feel my body, feel that sexual energy or pleasure. Solo, I always said I had no problem. But when it came to being in the presence of another, things started to get weird with my body. And in that sense, it really pushed me to explore. And I was always pointing the finger at, my partner saying like, well, you can't turn me on and, you're not doing this. And then I had a lot of realizations as I started to go into this conscious intimacy and really exploring myself, my subconscious beliefs, my programming. And I had this beautiful experience where I realized one time I was just like during the pandemic, I remember I was like, okay, it's time to meditate. I was almost like told to breathe a certain way. I just put on some sacral hertz. These are these like beats on YouTube. And I put on this music and it was almost like told to breathe in, to hold my breath, release. And I started to notice this electricity running through my body. And in that sense, I realized as well, I was like, holy crap, I was like, my lower body was buzzing. And it was in that moment that I realized, my sexual energy, my turn on was not about the other person. It was always about me. So if I could really tune into what does my body need to get to that state of feeling alive, feeling electric. And it was really the initial point of when I took my power back and realized, holy crap, it was never about the other people.
So that's beautiful. Riley, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I think that's really awesome. I think a lot of, especially, I mean, I can only speak on my own experiences and what I've seen through other women in particular is that it's way common, and it's more common to point the finger at your significant other because you don't know where else to point it. So, but I think that's profound, that because yeah, that's all I could say. I think it's extremely profound, and I'm so interested and intrigued to hear the rest of what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Olivia, one thing that's interesting is it kind of gets into like yoga based, like tantric, when you're getting into the breathing and some of that. I mean, it's interesting that we're kind of, talking about modern day problems, but we're resorting back to sort of old world knowledge. And tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of works, and, a little bit more about like some of the techniques or things that you try to focus on that really help you kind of tune in.
Yes. So I come from a background of Neo Tantra. So I was certified in the VITA integrated tantric approach to sex, love, and relationships. And within that space, I also was certified as a men's sexuality coach and then tantric sex for couples. And what I learned is some of these ancient techniques of breathing into the body, awakening these energy centers, and really tapping into a more conscious approach to your body, to sexuality, to really seeing that this energy, this sexual energy has a power to heal and expand you. And it's crazy because sometimes it's as simple as breathing and focus. And when we really take the time to slow down and just tune into our body, a lot of what I teach as well is body intuition. We start to realize that our body is constantly talking to us. And oftentimes that disconnect is when we've shut off the body, or I should say more so, we haven't been listening. And it's, when something is telling you in your body that something is not okay, or leave, it's time to leave, but you keep going because of maybe maybe your mind is telling you like, oh, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. So it's like those instances of really coming back to you and the wisdom that your body has and not rejecting it. That's a huge part of my journey. And maybe I should like take it back a little bit. Like Tantra, the way that I define Tantra is a weaving of the physical and the spiritual. And within the tantric path, it is that, your body is not separate from spirituality, that actually your desires are the fuel for your awakening and for your spiritual growth.
So I love that. And that kind of gets into sort of like your chakras and tapping into the chakras. And the thing with Tantra, and me and Riley talked to a lot of people, and Dan Winter comes to mind because Dan really would look at stuff like that from 100% base of physics, and he's really big on the Kundalini. So
Yeah.
he really understands this from a physics level. But when you're taking the two two charged bodies and combining them, it almost has like that enhanced bliss, because now you have two people that are really tuned in, not only to themselves, but then each other, and you're sort of combining those energy fields. Do you want to go into a little bit about that, or kind of any of your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you mentioned that because, and I also want to say too, like Tantra is not just for couples and partners, it's for singles as well. But what you just spoke about is being able to fully be in your own experience while also being with the partner and allowing this energy to flow, to move. The way that I describe it, it really is this divine dance between your energy, your partner's energy. And when we bring in intention, that's that consciousness piece into the experience, like your sexual experience starts to change. And specifically, I do a monthly workshop in Miami called Soulgasm, which is a form of sex magic breath work. And that's a great way to tap into your energy centers, your chakras, and see how you and your partner can activate these energy centers with your breath and allow the energy to flow back and forth. And within that space as well, what I see a lot with couples is you get to go into more of the mystical inner world being in your own experience, yet having that partner to hold space for you or to be in the experience with you. So beautiful things happen. Sometimes couples in those states of just breathing and like deep meditation with the body and the breath, they're able to access their past life connection. They get to really understand their body and really allow memories or any stuck emotion to come up, to be released, and really receive the wisdom that is out there, that's waiting to just flow into us through that inner, I should say, inner slowness and quieting of the mind.
It's really beautiful. You know, the thing that's interesting is that, you know, theoretically or technically, I guess, in a sense, the way we know it, because in our current culture, we're not really tuned in so much to the spiritual aspect of being with a partner and love making. It's really
Yeah.
dialed into more of a real physical thing. And even though like you're talking about how there was issues that you had that weren't really getting you fulfilled, I think that honestly it's always there's two sides of that. You're being very, you know, very sweet and open-hearted saying that, but you know, if you have two people that are both coming from a very spiritual aspect, that are both focusing on, you know, this the breath work and all that, it takes it from sort of a mundane three-dimensional experience to much more
Mm-hmm.
of a spiritual experience, which is really the basis of Tantra itself, is to raise your vibration and to really make it more of a spiritual experience. So, you know, in this day and age, with so many distractions and so many things out there, number one, just the run mill, and then all the different, you know, sexual stuff that you're getting exploited with on the internet and all these different things, to find that time to pull back, focus, and really get that spiritual teaching, I think is probably more needed now than ever.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. And the beauty is that, you know, you don't have to know so much about meditation, or you just have to be open and curious. Because I work with clients that don't really know anything about their chakras, but they are open. They're open to exploring something new, to diving into the unknown. And within that space, that's where the magic happens, when you really surrender into the unknown.
Riley, anything you'd like to say there?
Honestly, I'm just in agreement. I like the way you said that. And earlier when you said making the mystical practical, it stuck
Mhm.
out to me the most because
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. And I mean, not everyone's beliefs are the same, but to me, it's a spiritual process. And when combining those energies, like that's why they say don't be unequally yoked and all of those certain things, because you really are, it's unity, like you're creating one
Mhm.
giant force. And so I like the way that you said that, but it's realizing that this world is it is spiritual, but as you said, we have to tap into it, and a lot of people don't realize that because it's not easy for everyone, and some
Mhm.
people won't slow down, take the time, because they either don't know how, or they're scared of it, or but it's wonderful what you're doing because it's not something to be scared of. It's something to run at 100%, and doing that slows you down in a way, if that even makes sense. But yeah, I think it's very profound.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I love how you say that because, yeah, and oftentimes too, it's like the growth happens in the discomfort. So much, you know, I totally, there's periods where to enter those mystical states, yes, you may need to release some shame. You may need to go into the fear to really have a different relationship with your emotions and start to see that actually these emotions are sacred, that these emotions are just energy in motion, and they want to be expressed. So the more that we change our perspective and our beliefs around what emotion is, you know, what energy is, it starts to change our whole experience.
So, Olivia, you know, we talk about your personal experience where,
Mm.
you know, you're having a hard time, you know, having sexual satisfaction with a partner. And, you know, I can see where that could affect, you know, dating, trying to get to know somebody where you're just not feeling that chemistry. Everything else is there, like you're getting along, you're having fun, but then you get to that one part, that really important part, which is, you know, being intimate. and then that is just not there. And so I could see that from a dating standpoint where that'd be really hard to get into long-term relationships. But I'd like to know your feedback about the other part of that, which is couples that maybe originally start off and everything's really going good, and then eventually that starts to wear off. And then
Oh,
you've got people in these long-term relationships, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, where they're starting to lose that intimacy. So can you talk a little bit about that and maybe how Be Successful, can help with those types of things as well? Because I'm sure you see a wide range of, clientele with all different, backgrounds. What does that look like?
Yeah. So what I like to say is that the biggest disconnect is in intimacy is due to what is left unsaid. So what I have found is oftentimes it's a communication issue. So things aren't being said. We're not fully expressing our feelings, or we're not expressing in a safe way. Well, we probably weren't even taught, most of us grew up with our parents invalidating our feelings and our emotional state because they had their own emotions that they never processed. So it makes sense where now it's this relearning of how do I express myself? How do I really share, knowing that if I share this, yes, the relationship could change. But yes, also the relationship could change for the better. It doesn't mean that that person's going to necessarily leave you. And it starts to shift your perspective of being able to trust that if you're in a dynamic that isn't fully aligned, you're going to put your self evolution and your truth first. And not to say that, that you should then carry on just being, doing whatever, but really it's you being in your truth that has been the biggest shift I've seen in relationships now, as we're going into more of this conscious relationship dynamic. It is this knowing of being upfront with what your desires are, from the get-go. And knowing that there is ways that the relationship can mold and it can change, and that the relationship itself has its own evolution. What I see also in couples is there needs to be a value system that is, agreed upon. And if both of your values are evolution, then there's a non-negotiable that there's constantly going to be self-healing or self-expansion that will then, alter and allow the relationship to flourish. And what I find too is within relationships, it's oftentimes like our own inner world, oftentimes our inner child that's not getting their desires or needs met, and it's just coming out in the relationship. I always say too, it's being more aware of those parts of you, right? Those parts of you that need, to be reassured, those parts of you that need love and need attention, and not putting all onus and pressure on our partner to be the one to fix us, to heal us. So there's definitely a level of ownership in relationships that is needed of like, hey, I want this to work. I'm going to do my own work, but I also want us to do work together. So it could be something as simple as like, hey, honey, let's try this workshop. Like maybe this is going to like, teach us some new things of how to communicate or how to express our needs in a way that benefits us both. So yeah, that's a big one that I see.
Riley, your thoughts on that?
I think that that's a really incredible perspective. And first thing that stuck out to me was fear.
Mhm.
Fear of the relationship changing, fear of people being apart, fear of not being able to express who we are. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a huge one. And what I always say is, fear isn't going to go away. Fear is going to be there, whether you're 12, whether you're, 80 years old, but it's how you relate to fear. Can you really see that fear as pushing you for something greater? Can you see that the fear is actually your friend to, take along on this journey of self-growth? And there is a level of trust and safety that needs to be cultivated. And I really have found that the strongest relationships are the ones that know how to create that safety in their own body, right? They're not putting all the reliance on the partner to do that for them. And it is this, it's this new level of awareness of knowing what you need to self-soothe, what you need to really come back to feeling connected so that you can show up in your partnership, in your best self, in your best form. And of course, there's going to be times that you're not fully, your authentic or connected self, but there's always this striving to be more of your authentic expression.
I love that.
I do too. So let's say I'm either single or I am a couple with somebody,
Yes.
and we're saying we need better sex. We're not having, enough sex, or we want to ramp it up and make it better and be sexessful. What's the starting point? Just walk me through. You don't have to share anything that if you don't want to get too far into it, but do you want to just outline kind of the process and how that is, and kind of how your program and your company works with clients like that?
Yeah, definitely. So with my couples, I do a series of date nights. So they are date nights that allow you to get closer to each other, to start to shift your perspective on intimacy and go deeper into your desires and exploring those desires. And also learning how to create safe space to come into the partnership with more intentionality, and being more conscious, right, of our blocks, of our resistance, and where we can open up more and share more from the heart. And then my singles work, I work with men and women. And that program is one-on-one coaching that is tailored to your specific desire. But oftentimes I find it's really that sense of wanting to feel empowered in your dating life or who you're attracting. I think a lot of the clients that I help, we really explore, like, why have we been attracting certain partnerships and what needs to change in order to attract that next level of partnership, or even just being more connected to our body and experiencing self-pleasure and sex with others in a whole new way. A lot of what I teach also is how to tap into more of that 5D sexuality, or as I like to say, we're changing the frequency of sex. So how we view it, how we experience it, and how we go about life when we're looking to attract certain partnerships. So really, it's a beautiful way to explore conscious intimacy with yourself and your partners.
I love the fact that you're talking about the people that you're attracting, because me and Riley, everything we do is energy and frequency based. That gets into the
Mm-hmm.
biohacking, the anti-aging, all that.
Yeah.
And you might be in that place where you have low self-esteem, or you have a lot of these issues, which you're attracting the wrong people because your energy, and like the old saying, energy attracts like energy, right? So
Yeah.
there's that part of it where you want to build your self-esteem, build your self awareness and self image, I guess is probably what I'm trying to say. And then also work on exactly what it is that you want from a manifestation perspective, so that you're very clear about the personalities and the looks and the things that attract you personally, because we're all a little bit different. So
Mm.
I love the fact that you're talking about that, and that's part of the program, and kind of one of the things that you're focusing on, because there is that subtle energy that's out there that is kind of taking us and bringing the right people to us. But if you can't break out of that, and you're still in that zone where you're in that negative energy, or you're not clear about what you want from the universe, or
Mm-hmm.
you have very low self-esteem, you're going to kind of keep going over the same thing over and over.
Yeah, exactly, Sean. And what I like to say now is I help you align your nervous system to your soul. So whatever that desire is on, a nervous system level, the trauma that we experienced growing up and the belief systems we picked up, we need to shift those and shift that energy in order to be a match of what we're, truly looking to call in. And a lot of that's just remembering your gifts, remembering who you are, and to feel safe enough to express to the world and to speak up, right? To speak up for yourself, to, be in your full truth, knowing that you have this unshakable trust in the world and yourself and how you show up.
I love that. So be successful. Olivia, tell me one, two, and three. What are the primary things that you're going to do to help people? Like, give me number one, this is the number
Mm.
one thing I get the most. Two, this is what we do. Three, like if I'm looking to you, and trust me, I know that there's a mass amount of our population that needs your work and your services, but give me a one, two, three bullet point of the top three things that you're really helping people with.
Yeah, so I help people surrender to their body's wisdom. I help people receive more pleasure and become clear, have clarity on what they want, the type of life, the type of partnership, and the type of love.
It's really beautiful because like you
Yeah.
were like we started off the call, when you've got all that in place, your life is much more fulfilled. You're enjoying life on such a deeper level, and everybody around you is experiencing much more love because you're emanating that and bringing more love to you and being able to give more love. So that's actually really beautiful.
Yeah,
Riley,
and
anything
Shauna,
you'd like to? Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, and I was like, and you feel lighter. So all of this work really just helps you go into those places that you haven't maybe seen to bring them to light so that they no longer have a hold over you, that you are more expressed in your body, that you can go out in the world and really see the world with new eyes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Fresh perspective is something that probably I say every single day.
Mhm.
And but the one thing that I did notice, Sean, was that in everything that you've said, the most profound thing to me is start with yourself.
Mhm.
Learn yourself. What does Riley need to make Riley successful? Not what does my boyfriend need to make me more successful. Like,
Mhm.
learn yourself. And in slowing down while you're doing that, everything else becomes a fresh perspective. So yeah, I think that's really cool because that's what most of us need to do more of. And I do myself. Like I need to take that time to be alone and
Mhm.
to feel things out for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
100%.
awesome.
It's like
Cool.
you need to feel it to heal it. And for me too,
Yes.
majority of my life, I was in confusion. I didn't have the clarity because my mind was always overthinking because I was escaping from feeling and sitting with my feelings. And then once I started to master that, everything started to change, right? I was able to go through things and really stand up for
Yeah,
myself. Yeah.
How long did
that's
that
awesome.
process take, Olivia, when you really kind of sat down and go, all right, I'm gonna focus on me. Like walk it. You don't have to get too much detail. Kind of walk through that process, how long it took, and then how that converted you into the starting to be successful.
Yeah. So I would say I was always curious about, like I was like being a psychic. I always wanted to be, to be a psychic and have this intuition. And I thought that it was something that you're born with until one day I learned that no, it's a muscle, that everyone has intuition, that everyone is able to be psychic and have these gifts. You just need to practice. And it was a lot. I feel like looking back, I mean, this journey is now, I've been experimenting with different healing modalities for the last 7 years. But one recommendation is to definitely have more fun. Like, you don't need to go to your low point into the suffering to still expand and, get to the next level. So, the way that I really experience now healing and growth is really from a more graceful and with more ease than old me used to be like, I need to figure this out. Like, how do I get to the next level? I was like, that energy was still my old self of being, super like critical, super perfectionist. So yeah, but I would say in the last, I mean, it was like 7 years since I started like meditating, doing breath work. And then in these last 3 years is when I really changed my perspectives on love and relationships and became more conscious of my desires and were really what my soul wanted versus what the world wanted for me.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got then you like, hey, I know how much it was good for me, how much I needed it. Now I'm going to take all this knowledge that I've got and help, all these other people because clearly in this day and age, it's something that's in desperate need for, the general part of society. We've really lost a lot of our spiritual roots and we're really living, instead of fifth dimensional beings, probably a lot of third dimensional. A lot of that is just because of the exterior culture that we live in. But how long ago was it that you opened up the Be Sexessful?
So this was now almost 3 years. Yeah,
3 years, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
yeah,
perfect. Now,
yeah.
you're in Miami? Are you, in addition to
I
working
am.
with people in the Miami and the Florida area, do you work with couples outside the geographic area?
Yeah, so I do online as much as I do in person. So, and then I started to do more expos this year. So I'm starting to expand, going to different cities, really taking my Soulgasm workshop, yeah, to different cities. So,
I
but
love the
online,
names.
all this, yeah, yeah, that's my baby. I was like, okay, this is this workshop I've been doing for 2 years now, and it's been so beautiful because like you said, the spirituality, I really want to bridge, the 3D and the 5D, knowing that you can experience these beautiful states of altered consciousness just through your own body. You don't need an outside substance, you don't need anything additional. And I mean, that's the true power when we realize, holy crap, we don't need a guru. We
Yeah.
are our own guru. That's really the message that I'm trying to put through. And I feel like you probably guys are noticing this too, is like this is the new level of spirituality that's coming through with the leaders, is like, people who are really allowing that sovereignty to come forth, and from a more, holistic perspective.
Mm.
That's
With
awesome.
that being said, you were just a guest
Yeah.
speaker at the biohacking conference convention in Miami, which is just a couple of weeks back. So
Yeah.
congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And then with these upcoming seminars and the upcoming travel that you're doing, we're going to have your website. It'll be posted probably right down the lower left-hand corner with your web address and with your phone number. So people watching the video, if they want to get in touch with Olivia, will be able to do so. Before we let you go, Olivia, I'm going to give you one last word. Riley, is there anything you'd like to share, any feedback you'd like to give before we finish up?
Well, I would say since we're going to do a video series, I would say I'm extremely intrigued if we could do our next video on 5D sexuality.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to the next time. But this has been incredibly expansive to my mind, and the graceful approach that you're bringing to sex in its entirety is really cool, because we're lacking the gentleness, we're lacking the respect for each other, we're lacking all of these things that spiritually you don't lack. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I know it's helping tons and tons of people. So I'm really stoked to have met you, and I'm really looking forward to the next call.
Oh, thank you.
Riley, that was so well said. That was beautiful. So, Olivia, in signing off, and we're going to do an ongoing series. Now, I know that the next one will be 5D, so that's already set, but we want to be able to keep you on and have you as an ongoing guest. But before we sign off on today's call, is there anything you'd like to share, anything you'd like to finish off with?
Um, Really, yeah, my biggest advice is to, if you have a nudge that, things could be better, that your sex life or love life could be better, that there's something that's greater that exists, listen to that nudge and follow your intuition, because you're just one connection away from changing your whole experience when it comes to sex and love. So yeah, that's my main advice.
Awesome.
Riley, one quick thing. The one thing, Riley, that you said that really sticks with me is that you're making love and sex such a pure, beautiful thing, and not like such a, downgraded thing, which a lot of times our society is able to do. And there's a lot of power in it, really. There really is a lot of
Mhm.
power in that. So
There
when you
is.
bring it back to a spiritual level and you really start being able to harness that sexual energy in a way that's really beneficial for you and your loved one and your partner,
Yeah.
ultimately it is bringing you to very high spiritual places. So it's so pure, it's so beautiful, it's so badly needed, and it's so
Mm.
wonderful to have somebody like yourself that's out there that's bringing this knowledge and helping people and making the world a better place, and helping raise the knowledge base and the level of spiritual life with
Yeah.
sexual exploration and being successful. So thank you so much for the
Yes.
call. Thank you so much for your time today. We're going to have all your information on there. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Olivia, it's down in the description. I always put it here on the video. Please give her a call. She's fantastic. And Olivia,
Yes,
we'll
she
look
did.
forward to seeing you again on another call. Stay with us. I'm going to sign off the recording, but we'll stay on for a minute and chat with you after we're done.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.